me get that screen right. Welcome back to the Will Is Podcast. You see, we got our good brother, Dr. A.E. Got to get his lighting fixed in there. But yeah, we doing solid. We here, we back, and we at y'all ass again. Yeah, check it out. So anyway, check it out. So what the subject of the matter is tonight is the impact of the historical narratives on Black Americans and people globally, even from a global perspective. So we're gonna Dr. A.E. He requested this show, of course, simply because we're just gonna say this right here. He saw it short, and this got his attention, and we're gonna do this show because understand the impact of historical narratives on this black self-image and how that globally affected us from leadership positions. Uh, we had to arise basically from being trained and created when we were out the womb. We was taught we had to be how many times better to even get half. So since Dr. A.E. requested to do this show, we're going to let him take the forefront because he must have some strong perspectives that he had to get off with, basically wanting to say this piece. So go ahead, Dr. A.E., let's take it away.
Well, I was going to cut to cut the
Okay.
fat, get right to the meat. I
Straight
know it's
up.
late. Plus, I do have my day is not over with, so I am going to cut the fat.
Let's
When we
do it.
think about and look at historical narratives, what we find is that the narrative itself has to be within these limited terms of the people that are creating them. And so when they do that, they're trying to consciously make sure that they impart certain things on black people. And this is why of all of the uh, all of the historic events and time periods, they are selecting which ones they want to harp on. If you think about it, there's certain events that carry a lot more weight than others, right? And let's
Right.
get to the prime example, right? And
Hmm.
that prime example is the civil rights movement, right?
Right.
If you look at your history books, or you look at your basic American history textbooks, when we're dealing with issues that deal with rights and race and things of that nature,
Hmm.
freedom, rights, and race, right? And equality, there are various periods you can look at, right? You can look at
Absolutely.
the early 1900s with the Harlem Renaissance, the beginning of the NAACP, and all of these different things. You can look at the Reconstruction period and what it really represented and the advancement that blacks made during that period, especially in the political arena.
Hmm.
And then, of course, you can compare them both with the civil rights movement, right? And the
Right.
civil rights movement is pushed um, at an outstanding rate, right? Because that's what they want, the narrative. They want you to be docile, they want you to pray. Always, if you think about it, when
Hmm.
things happen to today, the first thing they kind of do is push Martin Luther King. You know, they had this "What would Jesus do" movement, but for black people, they have the "What would what would Martin do" as well, right? Remember
That's
Martin
right.
Luther King, turn the other
Yeah.
cheek, pray
Hmm.
for us, pray for your enemies, and all of that good stuff.
Mm.
And so that's the psychological, right? This is why there's the debate now on why Denzel and many African Americans, not just African Americans in general, but blacks in the academy think that Denzel should have gotten his first Oscar with Malcolm X.
Absolutely.
But because it was
Yeah.
Malcolm X, there was no way he was going to get that, because that would have sent a clear message, right? More and more people would have watched that movie. They would have held it in acclaim, and then it would have affected more young black minds. And so that for that reason, right? Denzel couldn't win that award. Um, Malcolm is not seen as a civil rights leader the same way Martin is. Um, the deacons for the defense are rarely even spoken about during the civil rights movement, um, but they clearly had an impact on the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, of course, the overall narrative for Black Panthers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the self sufficiency, not the 12-point program, not the feeding of children,
They had guns.
preparing them for school, force, not forcing, but supporting and bolstering and pushing education and knowledge of rights and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
That's not the narrative that they push. They want to push it as they all hated white people and want to kill white people and all these other negative things, right?
Right.
And so that
Propaganda.
stopped young people because they wouldn't put it in the books. They're not putting it in the historical books. They're not allowing things to come out to tell that side of that story, meaning they're like they always do, they're controlling the narrative.
Right.
See, and controlling the narrative controls that self image, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so that self image of blacks is being pushed, right? And the sad thing about it is, if we look at, let's say, we look at the enslavement period, if they knew, if we really examine just how many rebellions there were, right? If
Oh yeah.
we examine what they call the intelligence factor, right? Not saying that blacks were not intelligent. We're talking about intelligence in terms of information, right? That
Absolutely.
they were able to put down most rebellions because simply because blacks were not allowed, right, to
Mm-hmm.
be on horses. So by the time a rebellion starts, whites could go run, get on horses, and go put a militia together or get the militia, wake them up, bring them, and they can get to a point where they can stop the rebellion before
Mm-hmm.
it becomes widespread,
That's right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the intelligence factor, not intelligence meaning they were smarter, just the ability to spread the information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the ability to come together to stop the efforts much better than the ability to get the rebellion and the efforts to do a rebellion, right?
That's
And
right.
so all of this plays into the image, into the psyche, right? So this
Mm-hmm.
way, how it builds the seeds and other foolishness comes in, where you end up with Kanye West saying this
Oh.
stupidity about slavery being a choice. You see, because it was his lack of intelligence,
Absolutely. His lack of knowing.
information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying he's not an intelligent brother, but he did not have the correct information, and thus he made such a uh,
Terrible
such a
decision of.
horrible, yeah, such a horrible decision, and said such a horrible remark to say that our
Mm-hmm.
ancestors chose that state. Um, and let's call it like it is. Some were because they were simply fit. They were simply afraid and put in that state of mind, right?
Absolutely.
And so that does not mean that quote unquote choice was one all on their own making.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the other thing that is done now, and I want people to be totally cognizant of. That is these images, right?
Hmm.
Because we're in a time frame now with the internet, right?
Yeah.
And we have all of these things and available tools now. You got a iPad, all these different other pads. You got your phone, you got your PC, you got your desktop,
Man.
you got all of these different modes, but all of them are centered on image and information, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's videos, pictures, things of this nature, right? Here's the thing about it, right?
Hmm.
If you notice, even when they discuss the civil rights movement, all of these black historical events and people and cultural pieces of tangible material culture,
Hmm.
when we look at the image most likely is going to be 9 times out of 10 going to be in black and white.
Let's pause.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pause right there. That's a good, very good point. Simply because of this thing, a partner of mine sent me, people send me a lot of information a lot of times, a lot of information about perspectives, about how people view things and view situations. So it was this uh, Mexican American interviewing an older white man. So we talking about some, but not all, people with the inability to show a perspective. The inability to show a perspective as far as viewing things from another person's lens. You see what I'm saying? They can't.
Right.
It's like they don't have the ability to see because they see things as what you would call survival. They only concern themselves with their survival and no one else's. They don't even think or have the capacity or don't want the capacity to even have a thought of existing with other people. Like I say, some, but not all. But it was quite poignant. He was very poignant in his terms. He said, "I am concerned with the survival of my people, and that's all. That is it. That's this is this." He made it very poignant to say, "No, I don't really have the capacity for any other people. That's not my mindset. That's not my ideology." So if that's being practiced by a group of people and everybody knows that that philosophical mindset is what you're practicing, then people have to do what, Dr. AE? What do you have to prepare yourself for when you got that type of ideology that is being broadcasted as if they only want to exist apparently in the world alone.
Well, you have to what we found out, and
Uh-huh.
this may be, a bit of a hard pill to swallow,
Sure.
but even Martin Luther King came to this conclusion.
Hmm.
And what we found out with the civil rights movement is we cannot be concerned with their ethics and morality. We
Absolutely.
can no longer wait on them to evolve to
Hmm.
getting these ethics and morality because they have already, like you said, based everything on their survival. So ethics and morality go right out the window because we're talking about survival for them.
Uh-huh.
So they don't care about these ethics. They don't care about morality. It's the same way in Walter Johnson's book
Hmm.
uh, when he was discussing the slave market, right?
Hmm.
and he starts talking about the brutality of enslavement. And the reason that the brutality of the enslavement exists because it is quote unquote necessary, because they have equivalated the suppression and the extraction of as much work as they can get out of another group of people
Mm.
as their survival,
As well as
right?
their own people at this
And
point.
even Thomas Jefferson, in his talks with Benjamin Banneker, when Benjamin Banneker
Uh-huh.
became this strong abolitionist and he was shooting down all of this
Phew.
foolishness about the intelligence of black people, Thomas Jefferson agreed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that okay, yes, you're right, but these are the things that we have told our. Basically, he said these are the things that we have found necessary to tell ourselves
Mm.
in order to continue to strive for our survival. So now, on the flip side of that, and it goes back to what I was about to say when you when we when we pause for that to go into that a little more in depth with the
Mm-hmm.
lens.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that, right? And I'm going to go back to the same example that I was about to give. When you take all of these images, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you put them in black and white, and you only put up these black and white photos of Martin Luther King and these black and white photos of Malcolm X and black and white photos of civil rights movement, black and white photos of World War II veterans, Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
even Vietnam, black Vietnam veterans, all of
Sure.
these black and white photos. See, black and white photos automatically put this psychological effect on people that happened a long time
Time
ago.
ago.
But people gravitate to color photos. You see
Mm-hmm.
a color photo, you think uh you have more empathy, plus you can actually, place yourself. You can even some at some point subconsciously or consciously place yourself at that event, or if you were to be at that event, you
Mm-hmm.
can fantasize, or you can ponder what you would have done if you were at that event. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? But when you put out these black and white photos now, that's a long time ago. You
Mm-hmm.
it's far less relatable. But that color photo you can relate to. And see, that's all about that black self-image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because these black and white photos tell young people that was a long time ago and they don't relate.
Let me add to that.
Yes.
Let me add to that specifically. So we already know, like up here in Georgia, they got a in Kennesaw, they have a museum of it's like a white supremacist museum or whatever. And they would say, no, it's an old glory or Southern museum. So they have all these different type of coded languages to phrase uh, their love affair with that's associated with their internal hatred. So you have a great deal now because the thing is the reason why I don't say all, you know, people associated with a dominant society because you have people like especially with Indians, the Indian presence, the Bharat Indian presence that's in the Americas right now, and in the position that they take towards the dominant society. So it's the always we face the same positions from everybody, including people of color, as we was aware of now. The African position they take against the Black American, the Aboriginal American, the foundational indigenous Black American. Okay, so these people take specific positions against us, and they want these type of alliances under their terms. So it's kind of weird how, you know, everybody wants alliances on their terms when you're acting as if you could still position me as the bottom tier. Like I'm supposed to be grateful to even be associated with you. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right. And but see, that's the psychological effect
Uh huh.
that they have had of the overall black image, right?
Right.
And we discussed that before too. The
Hmm.
sad thing about it is that that image has impacted our own black self image, that you have
Uh-huh.
black people wanting to be anything but black.
But black,
You know, you
yes,
got
absolutely.
these Puerto Ricans that are uh quite dark skinned saying they're not black, you know, because the the the
The
psychological effect,
disassociation,
right,
right?
of being associated with such
That
negativity.
image, that
Right.
specific
That
image,
image, because that image is associated with such negativity
right?
that people will reject it at all costs, even when it doesn't even make common sense. They
Even in
will
their
still
family,
reject
even
it.
inside their specific families, is even you know how black families, we kind of overcame a lot of that colorism about 30 years ago. But if you think in the psychology of those Latin cultures, like I was telling, Eva Longoria, a lot of and a lot of it's actually a lot of European Americans that's kind of spilling the beans about the traumas that they have being raised around such I mean intricately racist households. And it's like they've even, some white girls, they probably was late bloomers. They was talking about how, they were literally harassed and brutally harassed by their fellow counterparts, the Caucasian male, in there because they didn't look a certain type of way that made them gravitate towards different races, not just black men, but just different races, period.
Uh-huh.
So these undertones of hatred, racism, and the infamy to push away from everything that has melanin in it. I think nowadays, as a collective, I think a lot of this is starting to show its face, and I think a lot of people, even globally and universally, are starting to bring a lot of light to it because they're a bit taken back about what they're even educating themselves about nowadays. So it's not all negative. A lot of people are really uh, educating themselves from a global perspective as well. And I think that's why it's important for us to keep doing these shows and, bringing light to uh, the globe about these specific issues because it's we have our issues, but we also have our relationships with people globally as well. So does morals and ethics apply to us more than anybody else? When has it not? So expound about that, Doc.
Well, that goes back to that whole idea that we had to always be twice as good as to, because just to be considered just as good as, right?
Yeah,
All of those onuses have been put on us, and it has affected our own self image, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because some of those external factors are tangible, right?
yeah. Very
They
much so.
affect they affect our capacity to uh, go and achieve in education, in the professional arena, to advance careers, to economically and financially do better for ourselves. All of these things become tangible factors. So you can't help but um, recognize them, and you have to deal with them as such, right?
But
And
let
so,
go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
ahead. No,
Well,
no.
I was about to say, but it's there are we also have a multitude of ways of combating that in households nowadays. So like hopefully what I'm trying to do with the Will Is podcast, and I hope I'm doing such, is bringing a new light to bring a new coolness to understanding who you are as an individual, so that you can have the mindset to connect with others that embrace that type of mindset. So knowing yourself isn't cocooning and just dealing with just you and your likeness. No, it's having the audacity and the confidence to be completely who you are. Because I get, even as much as evidence and as much as I have done shows about the indigenous cultures in America, still people have this like sick, real fucking like rage because it's like you're from Africa, motherfucker. All of this rage in them. They are angry because damn, you're uneducated. You mad at yourself for not understanding because you believe these false truths. So when you give people specific facts, and you don't even have to do this. I don't advise anybody to ever fall in the hands of anyone asking you for proof about who you are. If you know, you know. You don't owe that shit to nobody. You see what I'm saying? But can I prove it? I actually have proof that you should watch the show. But anyway, AE, why are people so concerned about other people's discovery of themselves? And why is there such a rage or such a output of hatred simply because a person acknowledges who they specifically are? And I'm gonna tell you where I'm going with this. There's a lot of funky connections that are out here that people are discovering that exist in this ancestry world too. And they're like, oh, well, they're now discovering these brutal histories and these actual, because you worked in the archives. So these stories are making or enraging a lot of people because we have the actual facts and the actual stories to go with the facts, the names to combat the bullshit and that collaborate with the facts. So let's dig a little bit deeper in there why we have to change the image simply because we have a plethora of information. We have to keep doing shows that educate people with solutions on how to always dispel those mental mind concepts that grow up in children. Because I'm telling you, I'm raising a child that has made the principals list every single year in school. The faculty know us. They know who we are simply because of what? We show concern and we understand and we help our child to understand that education starts home, not in the schoolhouse. That's the first and foremost. We have to value education like we do and how we push edutainment, education, and how that's how valuable it is. It has to do with your psyche. So
Well, the
please,
thing
sir.
about it is the core of what you're getting at
Uh-huh.
is okay. The best way to put it is this, right? The core of what we're actually getting at is the fact that classism, right,
Mm-hmm.
allows people to create their self worth, right?
Absolutely.
Poor whites, you could do anything to them. They could be worse off, but in their mind, as long as they're not black, they are better. They doing
And
better,
who
right?
cares? Like, who gives a
Even though
shit?
they not, they may be less educated than that black person that live right up the street. Doesn't matter. Less educated, don't have the same career, don't have the same finances, anything, but they, you know, classism has told them that they're still better simply because they're white, right? And they
Absolutely.
have hung their self worth on that.
Absolutely.
And so when you do these self awareness things and you bring out all of these things, it challenges that.
Mhm.
It challenges that for those who excuse me, have always believed that they belong to a better class by race. It actually challenges it within a race as well. because
Sure.
now you're breaking out of those boundaries in which they are using
Hmm.
to define themselves. So yes, they're gonna get mad, they're gonna get everything because you're getting at the core of their self-worth.
Well,
And you're
that's when.
challenging it at that.
Well, the thing is, that's the problem with a lot of think a lot of I think a lot of black people globally is that they have a concern with how other people feel. I don't think that's the objective. I don't give a shit if they feel like that's challenging their self worth. That's a specific issue to them that they have to fix or even accept. So I don't even concern myself with that mindset because it does nothing for me specifically at all. So my thing is, we have to get out of the mindset of even valuing how other people feel about us and just be who we are and be proud about that. Because I can give a shit less if an Arab, a white person, or Chinese. I don't give a shit. I can outproduce you. You understand what I'm saying? It's about what we do, vice how people feel about us. Because the thing is, if you are a good person or if you're a person of ethics or morality and value, which is also, I feel, starting to become um a resurging position because of two reasons. People are starting to understand the value of other people, some, but not all. And then those that don't value anyone but themselves are self imploding. And so the problem is, I think people give entirely too much attention to the self imploders and don't give enough attention to the people that are pushing and moving forward. Because it's really all about how we're positioning ourselves for the future and not relinquishing power, acting as if how someone feels about you, you should be so concerned with. How you feel about that?
Well, I think that's a key element to progress, right? But the issue is that whole mindset is going to have to be reevaluated, broken down, and then rebuilt back up. And that takes a lot of work just for one individual. So when you think about doing it for the masses of people,
I can't do that. That's a self-proclaimed responsibility
right,
that you should have for yourself.
right, but you
That's the
have to
goal.
enlighten.
You
But that's
have
the
to.
thing, you have to enlighten. It has to. Okay, in other words, people have to tell themselves, right? People have to tell themselves that
Mhm.
this is the way to go, right?
Sure.
Right?
I mean,
Um, they have to evolve.
that's
And that's
that's
the
my
whole
point.
thing we have to get back to,
That's my
right?
point. Yes.
What I was saying earlier, we're getting to the point where we just can't wait on certain people and certain races of people to evolve. We have to force
And
them into it by making them accountable for their actions.
that's
And
right.
if they want to keep like a child, they want to keep learning them same lessons, then they gonna have to keep learning them same lessons.
You have to keep something
But
exactly.
but we're
Uh-uh.
not going to ignore, we're not going to look over,
No.
and we certainly, what
No.
I give all the credit to young people for, we're certainly not going to just pray for you.
No.
you know
Nah. I appreciate you. Yeah,
now
absolutely.
on that
Absolutely. We gotta appreciate
on
them
that
young
note, brother,
folks.
I truly do. I'm on a tight schedule tonight.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry I do have to cut it short,
Gotcha.
but I thank you for giving me a chance because I did want
Yeah.
to express those ideas with you when I watched you with the show earlier. So I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you letting me come in
No
and
problem, my
uh,
brother. It's always a pleasure.
and put my little 2 cent in.
Hey man, it's always a pleasure, my brother. It's always a pleasure. We're gonna get this machine hooked up, the monocast, and we're gonna have a little bit more fun too. I'm just glad you took the time out also to come on and because you was really you wanted to get this one out.
Yeah, I wanted to put my 2 cents in on that one
Yes,
because we
sir.
do. We have to start really evaluating our self worth in
Hmm.
other things.
That's
We
right.
got to get away from materialistic things, and we
Hmm.
got to get away from those types of ideologies, right?
That's right. That flexing
So,
ideology where the flexing ideology basically where people are valuing things that people make more than what we can produce. When you value things that are completely outside of your objectivity because you want that because it's what you see. But what about what you can produce? I always value what you can produce. Like I got the wheellesspodcast.com, and even if I'm the only one buying my clothes, guess what? It's what I am producing.
that's true.
So I don't ever have to purchase anybody else clothing. I don't have to wear Banana Republic's elephant. I can wear the arrowhead. You know what I'm saying? Or the Wilderness Podcast. So that's what you guys gonna be seeing from me, rocking my own shit, doing my own thing. And I hope you do it too. I hope you rock with it. It's Universal Brands, it's Universal Clothing Line, so you can check it out. But anyway, I will be rocking my shit. You dig what I'm saying? It's gonna be fly, fresh, and got new shit y'all ain't even seen yet. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's just how it's just how it is. It ain't no hate, ain't no pun intended on nobody else. It's just how I feel about myself. It's gonna be my self image, and if you ever think about wearing like polo and all of these different types of brands, but they're not produced by us, man. Come on, pimp. You know that. So yeah, that's what I got. Hey, E, I know you got a roll. Go ahead and get your plug in. I might stay on a little longer.
No, I'm just saying again. Thank you for letting me put my little 2 cent in. Good people. God bless. One love.
Yes, sir. My guy, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, that's an alumni. That's an alumni. That's a real alumni of the Wilderness Podcast. True champion too, man. Yeah. So I always think about. I always, take it back to the children. You know, my child. When I think about how she feels about herself, that's important to me because that's my responsibility. She asked me, Daddy, the other day, why is learning so important in this household? We told her because you'll never stop. You'll never stop learning, my love. So you might as well get comfortable with that ideology. Get comfortable with learning because that is never going to go anywhere. That'll never stop in this household. You can never stop learning. And that's why you see the plethora of books. That's why we go through books. That's why we always communicate about education and then starting from you when you're dispersing it, especially with your children. Yeah, that's extremely important. So we're gonna get into this because I wanted to tell you about some of these rebellions. Uh, let's get into. I bet you didn't know about this one. Uh, okay, you guys. I know you know about Denmark Bessie, and I know you know about him. But what about this is Gullah Jack. So check out this one of these. Check out this story right here. Read you a couple paragraphs. Only person to divide Bessie, the claim of leadership was Peter Poyas. Vesey was a missionary in the cause. Mm. But Peter was the organizing mind. He kept the register of candidates and decided he should or should not be enrolled. We can't live so. He often reminded his Confederates, we must break the yoke. God had his hand in it. We have been meeting for 4 years and not yet betrayed. Peter was a ship carpenter and a slave of great value. He was so to be a military leader. His plans showed some natural generalship. He arranged the night attack. He planned the enrollment of mounted troops to scout the streets, and he had listed all of the shops where arms and ammunition were kept for sale. He voluntarily undertook the management of those most difficult parts of the enterprise, the capture of the main guardhouse, and he pledged himself to advance alone and surprise the sentinel. He was said to have a magnetism in his eyes, in which his confederates stood in great awe. And he once got his eyes upon a man. There was no resisting it. A white witness, a white witness has since narrated that after his arrest, he was chained to the floor in a cell with another one of the conspirators. Men in authority came and sought by promise, threats, and even tortures, and in his name of other accomplices. His companion wearied out his pain and suffering, stimulated by the hopes of saving his own life. At the beginning, and yelled. Peter raised himself and leaned upon his elbows, looked at the poor fellow, saying quietly, "Die like a man," and instantly lay down again. It was enough. Not another word was extorted because he was grieving. And he told him to die like a man. Just go on, die like a man and get it out the way. That's what it is. I don't want to hear all them cries. Check this out. One of the most notable individuals in the plot was a certain Jack Purcell, commonly called Gullah Jack. Gullah significantly Angola, a place of his origin, and conquered a profession by a lineal heritage on his own country, and he resumed the practices of his vocation on the side of the Atlantic. And in 15 years, he had yielded a secret and immense influence among a stable consistency in Charleston, South Carolina. And as he's also his reputation being invulnerable and the teaching invulnerability in an art, and he was very good at beating up recruits for insurrection. Over was very good at beating up recruits for insurrection over those in the Angolese descent, especially as he was a perfect king and made them join in the revolt as one man. They met him monthly at a place called Buckinley's Farm, selected because the black overseer on the plantation was one of the initiated and became the farm was accessible by water and enabling them to elude the patrol. There was perhaps cartridges and pikes and have primitive baskets, which assumed a melodramatic character under the inspiration guidance of Jack. If a fowl was probably roasted and the mystique individually muttered incantations over it, and then they all grasped it and explained. Thus we pulled Bokros to pieces. He gave us parched corn and ground nuts to be eaten as internal safeguards as one of the day before outbreak, and consecrated a kola, a crab claw, and carried the mouth by each of the amulet. Means secure him to power which is very unquestionable, and the witness explained in his presence all showed dread of his conjurations and inferred him indirectly with the kind awe as the little man who can't be shot. So you understand that we have never been what you read in your history books or what you have even studied in some of you guys as HBCUs. You don't even know that you are purposefully being disrespected, disregarded, and demeaned by the way you see yourself. So tonight, I want to end with the value of self. The value of self is how you become anew. The value of your being, who you should be for you, not the influence of other people at times. You have to study things for yourself and who you are in order to even have the absolute value of being able to relate and have a real conversation with people without shrinking yourself just to make others feel good or valuable or like they belong in a conversation with you. Don't shrink yourself and don't allow people to shrink you either. Always be respectful. If you debate, debate, but it doesn't allow for violence. Like I heard what happened to Charlie Kirk today. Blessing to the Kirk family. Nobody deserves to be shot down like a dog for their opinion, but people, I don't ever want to. I don't know much about everything that I know what he does, and I don't agree with anything that he does. But uh, as far as the violence in this country, that's just it's nonsense, man. It's a lot of nonsense. People have opinions. He wasn't even being violent. I think he was talking about gun violence, but he talked about a lot of things. So we're gonna get off that subject, and I don't condone people being shot down like that. So that's the show tonight. It's the Will This Podcast, and remember, take care of your family, take care of yourselves, educate yourself. Let's don't get into the hatred. We're trying to get away from that hatred philosophical mind state that we got to rid ourselves of. We're not gonna participate in that in none of those things. Nah, not having that. So anyway, that's the show tonight. That's the end of the show. It's favorite part of the show. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, say it with me. The will is yours. Be cool, my people. Keep your head up. Keep your head on the swivel. Stay abreast. Stay healthy. Eat well. Take care.